Well, family time has been present long before Innisfree House was built. It was originated with Lessard House. I'm guessing, and Anne can might have this knowledge too, but I'm guessing 15 years anyways. So Lessard House opened over 25 years ago, and then sometime after that they found that they wanted to respond to the needs of bereaved families that have been served by the hospice. So 15 years ago they began this family time group, and they reached out to a social worker named Michelle McKinnon, who was willing to create that. And so it became what we now call family time. And it is this mutual support group. So over the years, first with Lessard House, and then with Innisfree House, family members after the death of their loved one who wanted a bit of extra support were able to participate in this group. And ever since then, the group has been running. It's an open group. There's no specific timeline on when people need to leave the group. We talk about graduation, and so it's the idea that we're there to support them through some tough parts of the grief journey, and then eventually help them build capacity and skills and so forth to then graduate from the group and proceed with their lives beyond the group.
I'm a really strong advocate for the open program. I also, after my husband passed away, had the opportunity to participate in what they call a closed group, so it was a fixed, and I can't remember, 8-week or 10-week program with a group of individuals. But after 10 weeks, there was nothing. And as you know, grief doesn't end at a finite period of time. It's not 1 year, it's not 2 years. Grief is an ongoing journey. And so having that opportunity to meet with the same group of people, and even the people in the group itself evolved over time as people graduated, newer people came in, and you saw your growth as it went on. That open model worked really well for me, and I'm a really strong advocate, and I'm really glad that it's been maintained here.
I think it's a great partnership, and I don't know how I would function in the group without Anne's presence, partly because of what she brings in terms of her personhood and experience, and how that complements what I bring, but also just the guidance, especially around having had the experience over time of how the group unfolds is really important, because it's organic, and I'm learning things as we go along. So that's my perspective. I'm so glad Anne brings the deep experience of loss that she does, because I don't, in my personal life, I don't bring that depth of loss. And I think that's important, because those who are accessing the group have had some very deep losses.
Yeah, it's a great teamwork where I look at Greg and he takes care of the administrative stuff and makes sure the space is ready, and the coffee's ready and the food is ready. That makes it a safe space. That's part of the group atmosphere, and it's really an honor for me to be able to share what I learned in my grief journey. And if I always tell people, if I can help someone just a little bit in their grief journey, then I'm very grateful to be able to do that. So it's a good partnership. Just to help them navigate the grief journey and to provide them with tools. With Michelle, we often talked about a toolbox, and to give them things that they can use, not just when they're with us, but when they're at home in times of crisis, when they have those really dark times and they're not sure what they're going to do. Whether it's just reminding them to breathe or just get up and move, just very simple things like that, so that they can cope on their own when they're not with us.
I think it's partly the fact that in our society we don't talk about death and dying as openly as we might otherwise, and we don't talk about grief and loss openly. So lots of people, I think, experience the bereavement journey without adequate knowledge and information about what is normal, what are resources out there even that I can access, and so forth. So for many people, they find their way through it, but there are circumstances around particular losses that are just so difficult and really impair a person's ability to integrate the loss into their lives. And so for a certain proportion of the people we serve, it's really important to have a structured environment in which to do that. And there's so many ways in which, beyond sort of some of the examples that Anne shared about education and tools and skills, there's also social support. Grief can be very isolating, and so it's amazing to see the bonds that very quickly develop when you create the right context for a meeting. So there's a social component to it, and mutual support that happens naturally among the group members.
And often group members will come into the group, and within the first 2 or 3 meetings will express how they thought they were just going crazy because what was happening to them because of grief, and it can be physical, it can be emotional, was just totally not normal to them, but totally normal to grief. And that reassurance that they're not going crazy and that other people experience the same thing, they really appreciate that. And that, it's almost the kickstart as they move on their grief journey. I find it's that knowing they're not alone.
Like, I was a bit nervous as a facilitator about this important service that we're providing to bereaved families. And it was amazing once we got the meetings, once the meetings start, people carry the conversation and the learning happens within the group, and there's all kinds of, I would call them aha moments, where someone says, wow, that's just like my experience, and that is so therapeutic. And it's even more powerful because it's not coming from me as an expert per se, it's coming from peers, and that is really profound. And so that, it surprised me actually how little I'm needed, because once you kickstart the conversation, away it goes, and it's amazing to see the mutual support happening.
Yeah.
So.
I think one of the more interesting things that happened, we had one meeting where one of the participants had a panic attack. And we talked about panic attacks and what you can do and that sort of thing. But there at the meeting, something triggered her panic attack. And then you watched her use the tools that we talked about. And she was able to overcome it. And then at the end, we talked to her and said, you realize you did that all by yourself. Like, you used all those tools that we've talked about, and you were able to overcome that panic attack here by yourself. When that happens, when you're not here, that's exactly the sort of things that you can do on your own. And I'd never experienced that before. That was interesting to have that live experience when they had a genuine panic attack. It really is an honor for me to be there. It's often the highlight of my week. I really do look forward to it. And some people find that hard to understand, but it really is an honor to give back. I'm so appreciative of what Lessard Industry gave to me after my husband passed away through those dark times. That truly is an honor to be able to give back now.